Have you ever felt like no matter how much you try, she's always keeping one foot out the door, like she's weighing you against every other option without even realizing it? That feeling, that gut-wrenching awareness that you might just be another choice in her world, it cuts deeper than rejection. But here's the truth, no one tells you. It isn't about who she meets or who's better than you. It's about how you make her feel powerless to resist you. And once you understand this, the game changes completely. Most men think they need to be perfect, to bend over backwards, to entertain, impress, or chase endlessly. They believe if they just do everything right, she will naturally choose them. But that's the illusion. Women aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for security, for intrigue, for the man who stands apart from all the noise. And when a woman has options, what separates the one she chooses from the ones she doesn't is subtle, invisible, yet devastatingly effective. It's not charm, it's not gifts, it's not being available 24/7. It's strategy rooted in psychology she can't consciously articulate. Imagine this. She texts you after ignoring your calls, her words short, cautious, testing the waters. You feel a spike of anxiety. What do most men do? They respond instantly, apologizing mentally for your supposed missteps, explaining yourself, trying to regain control. And in that moment, you lose. Every text, every call, every attempt to bridge the distance is a signal to her that she holds the power. She senses the chase, the urgency, the need. And in female psychology, neediness is the quickest way to make desire evaporate. But it's not just about pulling back, it's about creating the mystery of choice, the subtle magnetic pull that makes her heart hesitate, linger, and eventually commit to you, even when other options appear more convenient. Here's what most men never understand. Women naturally evaluate, they instinctively scan for high-value men who offer more than comfort. They want excitement wrapped in security and options. They multiply her anxiety, her indecision, but also her attraction if you handle it correctly. She will always have options. The question is, do you make her want you, or do you chase her like everyone else? The first is magnetic. The second is desperate. There's a critical distinction, and it changes how she perceives you entirely. You need to understand her psychology at the core level. Women are drawn to confidence, not arrogance. They are magnetically pulled to men who value themselves, who don't beg for approval, who have lives that continue whether she's in them or not. That independence, that calm sense of self, triggers a primal reaction. She feels she could lose you, and that fear. It's more powerful than attraction alone. When she senses that losing you is a real possibility, her mind begins to prioritize you over everyone else. This is the subtle art of making her choose you, even if other men are present. And here's the twist that most men never hear. Emotional scarcity works stronger than abundance. When you are everywhere, constantly present, always at her beck and call, she stops appreciating. She stops thinking of you as exceptional because availability creates comfort, and comfort kills desire. But when you cultivate deliberate absence, when you let her feel the weight of your unavailability, something shifts. She starts noticing your value, she starts imagining life without you, and that is the spark that makes her decision lean toward you. The art isn't manipulation, it's strategic emotional influence. It's learning to make her desire, not because of what you do, but because of who you are, how you carry yourself, and the subtle cues that make her heart involuntarily choose you. Most importantly, understand this. She will always test you. The text she doesn't reply to, the subtle flirtation with others, the moments of coldness, they are tests. They are not rejections. They are signals that she's measuring your worth, consciously or unconsciously, and your response, or lack of one, becomes the narrative she tells herself about you. If you crumble, if you chase, if you show desperation, she knows she can control the dynamic. If you remain calm, composed, almost untouchable in your emotional independence, she begins to feel something more profound. She wants what she cannot fully command. That is the moment she chooses. Not because you begged, not because you proved yourself, but because you revealed the man she could never possess completely. And that tension, that magnetic imbalance is irresistible. So ask yourself, Are you the man she fears losing, or the one she feels she can walk away from at any moment? That subtle, terrifying difference is what separates men who are chosen from men who are forgotten. And once you internalize this truth, you'll see the dynamic of choice flip entirely in your favor, without her ever realizing she was ever in control at all. Here's the secret most men miss. Making a woman choose you isn't about competing, it's about standing apart. Every man she meets offers a version of predictability. They all want attention, they all want to impress, and they all silently beg for her validation. But when you exist on a different plane, calm, self-assured, untouchable, she notices she feels it in subtle ways. The way you move, the confidence behind your words, the quiet strength in your silence. These aren't tricks. They are behavioral signals rooted in deep psychological triggers, signals she cannot consciously resist. And that is where desire begins to overshadow her options. Women subconsciously seek what they cannot fully grasp, yet can emotionally feel. If you become predictable, available on demand, and emotionally needy, she loses the spark. But when you cultivate mysterious consistency, when you live life fully, when your attention is not guaranteed, you generate the subtle tension that turns her mind into a battlefield. She begins to ask herself, why is he so different? Why do I feel this pull? Why am I thinking about him instead of the others? That mental friction is the engine of attraction. It's what makes her pause, consider, and ultimately choose. And understand this. Emotional independence isn't a gimmick, it's a magnet. Women instinctively respect men who respect themselves. When she senses that you do not need her validation, that your happiness and value are intact without her constant attention, she begins to see you as scarce, as high status, as someone worth prioritizing. Scarcity, when paired with authenticity, creates a psychological tension that feels impossible to ignore. You are no longer one option among many. You become the standard by which all others are measured. And that shift in perception is what changes everything. But it's not just about emotional distance, it's about strategic engagement. You don't vanish completely, you interact with intention. You show interest subtly, you engage meaningfully, but you never offer the comfort of total availability. She notices every calculated interaction, every moment where your attention is earned, not given freely. And in her mind, she starts placing value on those moments. She begins to internalize, this is a man worth my attention. This is a man I cannot take for granted. That psychological positioning is what flips the choice in your favor. It's quiet, but devastatingly effective. There's also a deeper layer most men never touch: pride and fear. Women, like men, have an innate desire to feel they are making the right decision. When you present yourself as someone who values himself too much to tolerate uncertainty, she subconsciously fears losing you. That fear is more powerful than casual attraction because it engages both her emotions and her ego simultaneously. She begins to weigh her options differently, thinking less about convenience or fleeting desire, and more about what is truly irreplaceable. And in that moment, she starts moving toward you, not because you forced it, but because the opportunity to choose you becomes emotionally urgent. Here's the nuance. The men who fail are the ones who react to her tests. They panic when she flirts with someone else or when she delays a response. They send endless messages, trying to prove worthiness. That desperation is visible. It kills attraction instantly. The men who succeed are the ones who remain grounded, unshaken, fully aware of their value. They understand that she will evaluate, that she will test, but that her desire cannot surpass her fear of losing the one who doesn't chase blindly. That mastery of presence, of composure, is what elevates you above the noise of other men in her life. Another overlooked truth: your life must be richer than the connection she offers. A woman chooses a man whose absence she can feel. If your world is full, meaningful, and expansive, she instinctively senses that she is not your universe, and paradoxically, that makes her want to be. The more your life is complete without her, the more she feels compelled to become a part of it. And when she does, it is a choice made from attraction and respect, not convenience. That is the ultimate leverage. When she chooses you freely, she invests emotionally, fully, and permanently. So ask yourself this: is your life magnetic enough that she feels she cannot simply take you for granted? Are you the man whose calm presence makes her pause, whose unshakable confidence makes her heart question every other option she entertains? That distinction is subtle, psychological, and deeply magnetic. Once you understand this, the question is no longer whether she will choose you, but when, and the answer, more often than not, is sooner than you think. Now let's talk about something most men completely miss: the invisible emotional pull that makes a woman want to choose you even when other men exist. It's not about persuasion, gifts, or trying harder. It's about creating a space where she feels she could lose you, and it terrifies her. Fear of loss is far more powerful than any attraction created by flattery or attention. When she senses that you are not dependent on her, that your life is thriving without her constant validation, something inside her shifts. She begins to imagine a reality where she doesn't have you, and that imagination is more potent than any chase. It triggers desire, and desire drives her choices faster than logic ever could. Think about it. Women constantly evaluate men, not just for what they do in the moment, but for what they represent. Do you represent stability, excitement, power, respect? Most men offer fragments of these qualities inconsistently. The result: she hesitates. She keeps other options open. She subconsciously tests your value. But when you consistently embody high-value traits without seeking approval, you create a psychological tension she can't ignore. Her mind starts working overtime, weighing her options, and she realizes she cannot fully command you, that uncertainty is addictive, intoxicating, and ultimately what makes her choose you over others. Here's where most men fail: they underestimate subtlety. Women are not drawn to grand gestures alone. They are drawn to the quiet, unspoken signs of value: how you carry yourself, the calm confidence in your voice, the way your attention is not a given but a privilege. She notices the little things you don't even realize: your ability to remain composed when she tests you, your unshakable presence when other men try to compete, your life that continues to expand and flourish without needing her validation. These subtle cues create emotional pressure. She starts asking herself, why do I feel this pull? Why do I want him when I could have others? That tension, invisible yet palpable, makes her choose you before she even consciously understands why. Let's break it down further. Scarcity is only effective when paired with authenticity. You cannot fake confidence. You cannot manufacture a life you don't actually live. Women detect inauthenticity instinctively, and when they do, attraction evaporates. But when you are truly independent, financially, emotionally, and socially, you become scarce in the most compelling way. Scarcity paired with authenticity triggers two primal reactions: desire and fear. Desire draws her in. Fear of losing you keeps her engaged. The combination is irresistible, and that is why the man who embodies this truth is chosen, even when others appear more available, more convenient, or more immediately entertaining. Another layer men rarely consider: emotional framing. Women are drawn to men who evoke emotions that feel larger than life. You don't need to entertain, you need to evoke. That can be subtle: a confident smile when she tests you, a calm, measured response when she flirts with someone else, the quiet assurance that you exist on your own terms. Every interaction becomes a psychological signal. Every pause, every carefully considered response, every moment of unshakable presence communicates something far more powerful than words. You are a man whose value is not negotiable, and that value is magnetic. She feels compelled to prioritize you, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Here's the final nuance most men never grasp: emotional patience is your superpower. Women often don't realize their own feelings until they are confronted with the possibility of loss. The man who panics, who chases, who overcommunicates, forfeits his influence. The man who waits, who cultivates tension, who lives fully without needing immediate validation, gains an invisible advantage. He is the one she imagines in her life because he is the only man who feels untouchable yet attainable, rare, magnetic, and psychologically irresistible. The timing of her choice is not in your control, but the conditions that make her choose you absolutely are. Ask yourself, do you create emotional friction, or do you make it easy for her to forget you? Do you embody scarcity with authenticity, or availability with desperation? The answers define not just how she sees you, but whether she ever chooses you fully. Once you internalize this, the dynamics change forever. She is no longer evaluating whether she should choose you. She is already leaning that way, subtly, almost without realizing it. And that is the hidden, psychological power that separates men who are unforgettable from men who are invisible. Now, let's confront a truth most men never truly understand. Women don't choose a man because he's perfect. They choose a man who challenges them emotionally, who inspires attention that is irresistible. She wants a man who is steady yet unpredictable, calm yet magnetic, emotionally independent yet capable of connection. The paradox is subtle, but it is the engine that makes her choose. When a man embodies this, even if she has other options, she begins to feel an involuntary pull toward him, a force stronger than logic, stronger than convenience, stronger than fleeting attraction. It begins with emotional tension. Every interaction you have with her should subtly remind her that your attention is a privilege, not a guarantee. She will test, she will flirt, she will retreat, but the man who responds with measured presence, who balances intrigue with patience, creates a magnetic emotional cycle. She begins to think about you constantly, even when you are absent. Her subconscious mind is racing, trying to reconcile the image of a man who is entirely himself, unaffected by her tests, with the emotional reaction she feels. That internal struggle between desire and control is what makes her choose you over any other option. Here's the key. Attraction is emotional resonance, not validation. Women respond to how you make them feel, not what you say or how you appear. When you create a life that is full, rich, and meaningful, and she witnesses that, she feels it emotionally. That feeling creates a subconscious question in her mind. Can I be a part of this? Can I lose him? And when fear of loss meets genuine admiration, her mind starts pushing her toward a choice. This is the psychological leverage most men never even realize exists. They think they need to entertain, to impress, to win. But the truth is far more powerful. You simply need to embody a presence that is impossible to ignore and let her mind do the work. Another overlooked truth: women often unconsciously evaluate men through social proof. Who respects you? Who notices your value? Even subtle cues, your friends, your achievements, your consistent self-respect, communicate your worth on a level she can feel, but rarely verbalizes. A man who is seen as high value, who exists confidently within his social and personal sphere, triggers desire that cannot be replicated by charm or attention alone. Her mind instinctively measures you against this unseen standard, and when she senses scarcity, integrity, and self-possession, she begins to prioritize you, even if other men are easier, more available, or superficially appealing. Here's the nuance. The art of making her choose you is psychological timing. It's not about chasing after her at the right moment. It's about creating a tension that makes her imagine life without you, and then slowly, irresistibly, realizing that she wants you in it. Every pause, every calm response, every subtle demonstration of independence amplifies her emotional investment. She starts to internalize, he isn't desperate. He isn't easily swayed. He is rare. He is worth it. That internal realization is far more compelling than anything you could say she chooses, because the emotional architecture you've created compels her to, not because of manipulation, but because her own mind is signaling urgency. And remember this, you cannot rush the process. Most men fail because they react emotionally, chasing validation, trying to force the choice that desperation is visible. It destroys attraction instantly. The man who masters this dynamic does the opposite. He remains composed, enigmatic, and fully himself. He communicates value through action, presence, and the deliberate absence that makes her heart hesitate. He becomes the benchmark, the standard, the man against whom all other options are measured, and almost always, he is the one she chooses. Ask yourself, does she feel the tension of your presence and absence, or do you exist in her life like everyone else? Are you unforgettable in a way that her mind cannot ignore, even when temptation surrounds her? Because the men who understand and embody this truth are the men who are chosen, the men whose absence she notices, the men whose presence she prioritizes instinctively. That is not chance. That is deliberate, psychologically precise influence, and it is yours to wield if you commit to it fully. By now, you understand something almost no one ever tells men. Making a woman choose you isn't about winning her approval, impressing her endlessly, or outcompeting every man she meets. It's about becoming the man she cannot imagine losing. It's about embodying presence, scarcity, and emotional mastery in a way that is authentic, undeniable, and magnetic. When she feels the weight of your independence, the calm strength in your confidence, the subtle tension created by your unshakable life, she begins to place you above all others, not because she has to, but because she wants to. And once that shift occurs, once the choice is internalized in her mind, it becomes irreversible. Here's the reality most men fail to grasp. Women will always test. They will always compare. They will always flirt with options. That is not rejection. It is biology. But your response determines everything. Panic and chase, and desire evaporates. Calm, composed presence, and desire grows. Every delayed text, every measured response, every interaction infused with genuine value becomes a signal in her subconscious that you are scarce, desirable, and worth prioritizing. That subtle psychological architecture, the art of letting her desire without forcing it, is the ultimate tool in creating choice in your favor. But there's an even deeper truth. Emotional connection alone is not enough. Women choose men who create both excitement and stability. She wants unpredictability wrapped in consistency, intrigue wrapped in authenticity. If you are predictable yet boring, available yet lacking substance, she will notice, and her attention will drift. But when you are a man whose presence is electric yet grounded, whose life is complete but invites her into it meaningfully, she begins to make internal calculations without even realizing it. She weighs risk, value, and emotional resonance, and the result is almost always the same. She chooses the man who cannot be commanded, the man who is magnetic by being fully himself. Timing matters, but only after you've established this foundation. You cannot rush her choice. You must cultivate the tension, the intrigue, and the invisible pull. Every interaction, every pause, every quiet display of independence nudges her closer to her internal decision, the realization that you are not just another option, but the standard she cannot live without. That is the quiet, unspoken power most men never learn. They chase, they beg, they try to control outcomes, and they fail. You, however, stand apart. You have learned the psychological triggers that make her want to choose you, even if others exist, even if temptation surrounds her, even if she initially hesitates. And now it comes down to one final moment of truth. You must ask yourself, honestly, without ego, without doubt, are you the man she fears losing, or the man she knows she could walk away from at any moment? The answer defines everything. Your value, your presence, your calm mastery of self, that is the leverage that makes choice inevitable. Internalize this truth, embody it fully, and you will see the shift she will lean toward you, prioritize you, invest in you emotionally, and ultimately choose you. Not because you begged, not because you chased, but because you created the conditions in which she could not resist. So here's the question for you. If she reached out tomorrow with a single message saying, "I want to see you," would you respond impulsively, or would you remain the man who embodies calm, scarcity, and value? Think carefully. Comment your answer below. Your choice could define not just this relationship, but your approach to every woman who crosses your path. If you found this insight valuable, like this video, subscribe for more truths about female psychology and dating dynamics, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this tonight. Your presence, your value, and your understanding of choice are your ultimate tools. Use them wisely, and she will choose you even when others are in the picture.